Hey, I like to do these special episodes I call Three Things, where we take a song and I talk about the three things I appreciate most about that song. And, we've done three of those so far, and they've been Kanye songs, as this is a Kanye West channel for a Kanye West podcast. But somebody had requested I do a Kid Cudi song, and it got me thinking that it could be cool to do some non-Kanye songs, specifically in order to juxtapose them, not all the time, but with one or two, or maybe all three of the three things, but at least one, to something that Kanye does, whether that's something he does artistically, a specific song, an album, just to have that conversation brought in via other music that we wouldn't just get by looking wholly or solely at Kanye's discography. So I don't think every song is going to be not Kanye, but that I'm open to including others. So if you have other non-Kanye songs you want me to do a three things about, let me know, but also Kanye songs. But the request was for any Kid Cudi song, and I picked Day and Night as the one, it's kind of a cliche pick and maybe the most obvious one, but it was the first Kid Cudi song I ever heard, and it was the first one I ever loved, and it still has a special meaning to me, which gets into three things. Number one, which is that this song, I appreciate how it's an anthem for the sleepless or the night owls, the people that just don't go to bed at the time of others. One of the cool things about any art is when it resonates with our own personal experiences. And some of those personal experiences are easier to get in others, right? Like loving family, or having a relationship that falls apart, or, leaving your small town for bigger adventures. Those things are pretty common experiences that a lot of people can connect on. But then you have more specific things that you're like, oh, I didn't know somebody else cared about that or was going through that. Or you just hear art that speaks on that subject when others don't. So the first time I ever had that, as somebody that's dealt with severe sleep deprivation and tends to stay up later and work later into the night, was with Fight Club, the movie. But I never really heard a song dedicated to the subset of people that stay up late ruminating on things. So to be driving around Cleveland, Felix just run by, to be driving around Cleveland in college in 2008, being miserable because Case Western Reserve University kind of sucked, and hear Day and Night come on when it was, a period where I was really had bad habits when it came to going to bed. And just hearing the lines, like, because day and night, the lonely stoner seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone through the day and night. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. It just really felt, for the first time, that I was hearing music that captured this aspect of my life, and I got to have that resonance and connection to somebody else through that. So I very much appreciate that aspect of this song. The second thing is the connection to Kids See Ghosts. And not that there's like some line that connects specifically to Kids See Ghosts, but that from the beginning, Cudi, so used to saying Kanye when I do these, Cudi's discography was dealing with his mental health and issues with his mental health. You look at the track listing for Man on the Moon, Cudi's first album, and it not loading right away, but it's an album that's broken into parts, and we get that this is a hero going on his journey, struggling, and that's why certain songs are labeled Nightmare, because these are Cudi dealing with the nightmares that he has and this tension between day and night. It was right there at the beginning. He talks more about it in his second album, Man of the Moon 2. All the way up to Kids See Ghosts, we see Cudi wrestling with these demons that he has and this stuff that's haunting him, which is one of the things that made him such a fan favorite at that time. Going back to point one, like Cudi was making music that a lot of people going through depression really connected with on a level that they may not have been getting from, artists like Michael Jackson or Jay-Z, but you have Cudi making this music that's like, oh yeah, this is speaking to me. No wonder why Cudi was so influential on 808s and Heartbreaks, right? Oh God, I always hate when I say 808s and Heartbreaks. 808 and Heartbreak. But on Kid Cudi Ghosts, we finally get that 3-1-3 structure, where the first 3 songs we see Kanye and Cudi lost to the ghosts, right? And we get that ego, braggadocio, depression, kind of all the negative emotions until you get to Free. And it's on Free where they talk about mastering themselves and becoming the masters of their environment and getting that sense of freedom that we pivot into a happier place, which we get on Reborn. And by happier, it just means more hopeful. And you get that on Reborn, on Kid Cudi Ghosts, and ultimately on Cudi Montage, as Cudi and Kanye not only find ways to cope with their depression and the ghosts that have haunted them, but they reconnect with their faith and that belief that they have in a higher power that gives them a strength that they lacked when they didn't have that faith. And Cudi had talked in an interview that one of the important things to him about doing Kid Cudi Ghosts, specifically Reborn, was to let his fans know that he's okay now, that he's in a spot that he had never been in health-wise, and that he's happy and he's going to be okay. And he had never had the opportunity to really express that and tell them that in his music. And that's why that album meant so much to him. And you get that in Reborn. And just that idea of like, keep moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. 2016, was one of the darker years for Kid Cudi, especially ending up in rehab as he did. So for him to then come out and be able to make an album like Kid Cudi Ghosts 2 years later, and I just think it's it concludes so much on the journey that we see him go through on his discography as he's wrestling with these emotions. And you see it right from the very beginning in Man on the Moon, and specifically Day and Night, as he's really expressing that dichotomy between trying to have that daytime me and dealing with that nighttime me, where I deal with these nightmares and I deal with not being able to sleep. So that's very cool to me. And you compare that to Kanye and how Kanye's discography starts. It starts with College Dropout and Late Registration, which don't really have downbeat songs. Certainly nothing like 808s and Heartbreak, right? Like the saddest song on College Dropout might be, oh God, Spaceship, which is mostly just him having to work a 9 to 5 or a part-time job and hating it. On Late Registration, it's maybe Roses, and that's dealing with a family member being sick, but not necessarily like depression. We don't start to see the beginning of that until hints of it on Graduation, but then full force on 808s, which took a lot of people by surprise. Like, whoa, Kanye's making this album? A rapper's making this album? What is this? But Cudi helped pave the way for that in a lot of ways. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting to see Kanye start at this higher place. I'll use this hand. See Kanye start in this higher state and slip gradually into that depression, and then work through it on his discography into Ye and Kid Cudi Ghost. But how much that contrasts with Cudi, who was just dealing with it right away and was just straightforward with it. I think that's cool how you can kind of, for a lot of, not every artist, but look at their discography and get a connection or a sense of their emotional journey through their music. So I appreciate that. And then the third thing is going to be kind of dumb, but it's just this last part down here. Cleveland Status, Grind All Day, Cleveland Status, Grind All Night. This is more just personal. For a long time, I heard those lines as Cleveland Status, crying all day. Cleveland Status, crying all night. And that felt very fitting to me as somebody living in Cleveland at that time and dealing with the Browns, the Cavs, the Indians, Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland Winters. Like, crying all day and crying all night was my state of being. So this song became pretty anthemic for me in that 2008 2009 period until I graduated and went away to college. In fact, or graduated, not went away to college, graduated from college, but I went to Australia the year I graduated in 2009, and I worked and lived in Australia for a year. And when I came home in 2010, one of the first things I did, I think it was the night I got home, was buy Man on the Moon and buy, Drake's album, Thank Me Later. And I was just so happy listening to both of those albums back and forth and being like, look at these guys. They've come so far since Blueprint 3, which it's still crazy to me that Blueprint 3 is a Jay-Z album primarily produced by Kanye that features a song talking about the death of autotune after Kanye released an album using almost entirely autotune, but an album that also features J. Cole, Drake, and Kid Cudi all on it. Like, what a crazy amount of talent appeared on this album, and it's the least talked about and least accessible Jay-Z album. It's crazy. Crazy. Anyway, but Cleveland Status, Crying All Day, Crying All Night, yeah. But what I do like about it actually being Grind All Day and Grind All Night is that there's a little bit of a contrast to most of the song. Like, most of the song, it seems very sad. Like, I keep stress in my mind, like madness, the magnet that keeps attracting me. The girl that I like don't seem to like me too. Can't seem to shake the shade. Within his dreams, he sees the life he made. The pain is deep. A silent sleeper. Like, Jesus. It's really, really dark. But at the end of it, it's just Cleveland Status, Grind All Day and Grind All Night, which seems almost antithetical to the idea of being as depressed as Cudi seems in this song. You would think that being as depressed as he is, there is no grinding. There's just slipping further and further into a darker state of being. But, and I think this is probably one of the more powerful things about Cudi, despite how intense his depression got, you still had moments of victory and him trying to work through it and push through it and drive through it, and how motivating that can be. You don't have to win 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times, even 5 out of 10 times, but just, 1 out of 10 times, just keep getting up and do something and get on that grind and go. Like, you still have your heart of a lion that motivates you and drives you and makes you push towards something greater. You're still on that pursuit of happiness. And I think that keep moving forward attitude that Cudi talks about on Reborn has always kind of been there. And that's one of the reasons why so many people that were dealing with depression resonated so much with Cudi, because not only was he expressing his own depression, which made them not feel so alone, but he's also, motivating in a way too, that like he's in this state, but he's managed to still craft music and work and create, and you don't have to be the happiest person to be able to keep trying to take steps forward. And you'll stumble sometimes, you'll fall sometimes, you'll backtrack sometimes, but keep on that Cleveland Status and grind as you can, when you don't think you can, and you'll get pretty far. So I appreciate that aspect of the song. So that takes us through all three things. If you have another song, please recommend it in the comments. I think the next song will definitely be a Kanye song. I don't know if we'll do back-to-back non-Kanye songs, as long as we still have so much of Kanye's discography ahead of us, but we might alternate. So let me know which songs you want, and we'll get to that. And I should have a video tomorrow, which will either be a 3 things or Kanye content or news content or something else. But I hope you enjoy, and talk soon.